Check this out. We're in the environment of pit bulls, fighters, those who stay in the trenches. This is Sway. I'm hanging out with my man Dontae. Listen, I got my man Drew right here. This is my entourage. When I walk into the ring, this is who's with me right here. DJ Enough right here. This is my entourage.
You see, I'm hurt.
Right here.
A warrior's hurt.
All right, you're watching Dontae's Boxing Nation.
The following program may contain language of an adult nature. Listener discretion is advised.
Views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the hosts and guests, and not necessarily those of the staff or management of alltalkradio.net.
Welcome to Dontae's Boxing Nation show here on alltalkradio.net. Now here's your host, Dontae.
What's going on, guys? All Talk Radio, and welcome to the Dontae's Boxing Nation show. I am your host, Dontae, and joining me today are my two special guests. This man right here coming straight out of or in Palm Springs, California right now, one of the best trainers in the world, J.Diaz, and later on I'm going to have on the line with me Arab King, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of topics, including the fights that just took place this past weekend. So first things first, what's going on, J.Diaz? You there?
Yes, I'm here, man. I'm back to work.
All right, man. All right. Well, first thing I want to say, Joel, is congratulations on a courageous performance. How have you guys been dealing with the defeat so far, man?
You know what? It's a lot better. A defeat like this is a lot better than a controversy like it happened in 2012. I mean, hey, the approaches are completely different. At least you get some credit for what a great fight, you know? Now is the people approach you and they tell you, man, that was a great fight. You know, Tim did great. You know, that's the fight we wanted to see. It's just a completely different scenario than the first time. You know, the first time around it was like we didn't want to come out of the house. We just wanted to be at home and not deal with people.
Yeah, and I was about to say it, Joel. I never seen a plan go out the window so quick, man. I mean, what happened, man? What happened with the game plan? I was assuming that you guys were going to continue where you left off in the last fight. You know, I mean, he had the foot movement going. The jab was working. I didn't really see any of that in this fight. What happened, Joel?
I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't understand what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. I mean, the first time around when he fought Manny, I mean, he had a problem with his feet, okay? And, you know, we were attacked by fans by saying, oh, well, that's excuses. Okay, well, I consider an excuse, you know, hurting your feet and not continuing the fight, but fight through. And whatever happened. And this fight, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I really don't know. Because the plan was going great. I mean, he was. I knew that this fight was going to be easy fight. I mean, it really frustrates me when he gets to the corner and he tells me, "Coach, pull the muscle on my calf."
Wait.
So right there and then, I mean, I was furious myself. I was mad because everything was going so great. He tells me, "Coach, I pulled the muscle on my calf."
What
So then I
round?
started
What round was that again, Joel? Did he say he pulled a calf?
I don't remember what round, and I was so mad. I was so frustrated, man. I was full of anger after that. What happened? Because Coach, I pulled the muscle calf. So you know what? When he told me that, I said, "Okay, we're screwed." I said, "You know what, Tim? We're here already." I said, "We're in the fight, man. You want to go home? If you want to go home, we can go home now. You want to continue, let's do it." So let's go. To that round, I started massaging his face, but it was pain. Whatever it is, man, I mean, it happened. We lost. We take the defeat. Manny was a great fighter that night, but I don't know why. Time around again, Manny hurt his foot. I don't know. He gets some more muscle on his calf, so that.
Yeah, I'll say, man.
I told him, I don't want no coward. We don't we fight. I said, let's go. Let's fight. And if we go down, we're going to go down swinging, man. I said, we're not going home. We're going to keep fighting. They go, let's do it. So after that, it was just basically hoping he landed one punch, man, because he was shooting some heavy punches, but Billy and his feet was no longer there, so I couldn't have him follow up the game plan, because the game plan was move in and out, make him miss, make him fall short, and he was pretty great in the early round. He never got tired. I mean, a lot of people approached him, he got tired. He never got tired, but he just didn't want people to notice that he was hurting from his feet, from his legs. But you know what? I mean, it's better going home with a defeat like this than going home with a controversy. We take it, you know. We take the defeat. Manny Pacquiao was a better fighter than I. We're going to move on. We're going to keep doing what we're doing, and we're looking forward to gaining that title match.
I hear you. Now, was it anything? I know he had the injuries going on, but was it anything that surprised you guys that Manny Pacquiao was doing in the fight?
No, not really. I mean, we thought Manny Pacquiao was going to come and I mean, just basically take Tim his head off, but he was hesitating because Tim was being dangerous, you know, because part of the plan was, you know, don't let him attack, you know, wait for him and catch him on the way in, and he was doing it, you know. So Manny Pacquiao was fully attacking him because Timothy was being sneaky every time. The plan was, as soon as Manny starts to unload, just shoot the straight right, you know, don't let him unload it, and that's what he was doing. So Manny wasn't coming in with confidence of tearing his head off. He was holding back because Tim was being dangerous there. That jab was always keeping out at distance. So
yeah, because I noticed. Now I know you said you don't remember exactly when he injured his calf, but what I noticed is Tim Bradley, he was doing really good up until around the 6th round, and then after the 6th round, it seemed like he was just staggering like all around the ring, almost a little bit like he was drunk, you know. And that's when I was thinking something is wrong. Would you say that conversation took place with Tim Bradley sometime in the first half of the fight? Was it, you think, maybe around the 3rd, 4th round? Is that probably when he told you about the injury?
You know, I don't remember exactly what round he told me. I watched the fight. I'm just still like I'm trying to, go back. Why did he hurt his feet? I mean, why did it hurt the leg? I mean, the first time around when he fought him, his ankle. Now he hurts the calf. And I'm like, does he need to do anything different in training? Something wrong with his feet? Training too much? I don't understand. I'm still a little confused. I don't know. I haven't seen the fight. I want to watch it. But I remember that every 2 rounds, I was asking somebody that I had close to the corner, let me know what's going on. You know, have somebody at home watching the fight and let me know. And then they were telling me, up to the 5th round, they said, hello, man, 2 rounds, 4-1, or something like that. And that's Hello has Tim 4, Manny 1 round. And then after that, somewhere around there, Tim comes to the corner and he tells his coach, he goes, I pulled the muscle on my calf. And when he told me that, I just lost control, man. I lost control. I was furious. I just wanted Tim to fight. I wanted to fight. I wanted to show the world, you know what? We're here. We're not going to quit. And whatever happens, happens. Let's go, you know. If we're going to lose in a good way. Go ahead and give the people what they want to see. And that's exactly what happened, you know. He pulled the fight through all the way. He fought hard, and you know, it is what it is. You know, hopefully we'll get lucky next time. The next time around, if there's another time, hopefully we don't go through any injuries. But I think he's going on. You know, he's training too much. I don't know. He's probably doing something he's not supposed to be doing. But you know, we came out with another injury, but we give the people a great fight, and that's what matters.
You definitely did. So Tim Bradley never mentioned any type of calf injuries or leg injuries prior to the fight, right?
I told him not to. You I told him not to. After the fight, I told Tim, damn you do, damn you don't, you know. I told him, you know what? Just don't say nothing, man. You know, I told him, just suck it up and, you know, just give Manny his props. You know, because then people are going to start attacking you like, oh, you know, here you go again with another excuse.
No, but I mean,
It's the right thing.
no, but what I mean, Joel, is before this fight, did Tim ever come to you and tell you that he think he had a little bit of an injury or whatever, or he wasn't 100% before the fight? Did he ever talk to you about this?
Nothing.
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 Okay.
Never did. The last day of camp, which was the Saturday before the fight, the week before, closed camp with 10 rounds with 3 different guys, and follow the game plan just as we started the fight, moving in and out, angles, you know, making them hands, moving back. Never had a problem. Never.
Yeah. Wow.
There was no injuries. There was nothing in the training camp. That's why when we came to Vegas, I was so confident, man, that this fight was ours. I was so confident, man. That's why immediately every round, first round, second round, third round, I was fifth. Maintain that pattern. Maintain that pattern. Don't lose your focus. I told him at one point, I said, Tim, please don't get stupid on me. Just keep doing what you're doing. And he goes, all right, coach, all right, coach. And then until, I don't know, like I said, I don't remember what round when he told me that. And then after that, I knew that I couldn't follow the game plan because he was just basically his body weight on the leg. He couldn't sit on the because he was already bad. So.
Yeah, I hear you. So what are the chances of you getting a third fight with Pacquiao? You think it's possible that Pacquiao may take it in the future?
I don't know, man. Anything can happen. Hopefully, maybe he, can fight somebody else and maybe, earn his spot. Like everything. If you lose, of course, you have to take a step back. Now, Tim has to do something to earn another chance, though, man. Like everything, you want another chance, you have to earn it. It's just not like that unless promoters, they say, okay, well, that was a great fight. People want to see it again. People demand another fight like that, and then we'll give it to him. But Timothy himself, he wanted to show the world what he could do now that he has the confidence and, his power got better, as you guys could see. He landed better shots, and, he fought in any other fight.
Mm-hmm. He looked like he had a lot of power, man. I just watched the fight for the first time at home because, I watched it live. But when I went back and watched it, it looked like he really increased his power. Now, let me ask you this, Joel. Something that us fans or a lot of people don't get to see is what takes place in the dressing room, the type of conversations that take place. How was Tim Bradley's demeanor when you got to the dressing room? What type of conversations? Was he really, really emotional? Did he break down? I mean, how did he feel?
No, he wasn't emotional. He was like, hey, coach. He just told me while we walked in the dressing room, I don't know what it is, man. The first fight when I fought Pacquiao, I hurt my feet. He says, and then I fought Ruslan, nothing happened to my feet. I fought Manny. He says, I fought Mark. He says, I boxed Marquez real good. I used my feet real well, and nothing happened. He says, now I fight Pacquiao again, and I hurt my feet. He says, but you know what? It is what it is. I love the fight. The fans gave me credit, and that's what I wanted. To me, losing is not it's not a big deal. As long as the people like what they saw, matters. Walking out of the ring into the dressing room, all the people were giving him love. Like, hey, Bradley, good job, good job. That motivated him. He never broke down. He never got emotional. He just said, hey, coach, it is what it is, man. He's happy. He's happy for a reason. Let's move on. I said, all right, Tim. So that's what that's but, he wasn't emotional. As a matter of fact, we drove back today, and he was just thinking. He was just thinking about the fight and the coach. Man, he goes, I got him with some good shots, man. I was doing real good. Because but once I felt that pop, I said, man, I don't know. So I was just trying something out of it, and I couldn't do it. So whatever it is, man. That's like, you don't even want to mention it because, like I told you, I know that everybody is like, oh wow, what a coincidence. You heard it yourself again. But the the damage is severe. But we lost. We take the loss like men we are. But we're gonna keep training hard. Like Timothy says, after the fight, I'll be back. I'm gonna get my title back. I guarantee you. All right. Now we're gonna let everybody else do their job and see what happens after he recovers. See what's next in line for him.
That's cool, man. Well, I'm going to close out. I'm asking you this question, Joel. Tim Bradley, he enrolled in VADA testing in his last 3 fights, and I was under the understanding that that Pacquiao said that he would do VADA testing before the contract was signed, but after the contract was signed, for whatever reason, Manny Pacquiao and Top Rank, they decided to go with Nevada State Athletic Commission and not do VADA. What do you think about that, and do you think that may have had anything to do with how the fight played out at all?
You know what? All I can say is this. That stage that night was Manny Pacquiao to win regardless, one way or another. I mean, we walked in that fight against all odds. We went in there just with our good preparation, good, but everything else was, in that particular stage, Manny Pacquiao is the guy that sells. He's the guy that people want to see. He's the guy that is. They have the plans for big fights in the future. So, there's a little bit of favoritism among the promoter, towards man. And I know, it's business, and I understand. I do understand. There's a lot of teams that they do, their way, and they don't benefit Tim Bradley. But Tim has always said, I'll do Nevada State Athletic. He does both. It's like he pays out of his own money to do VADA himself, to prove to the world that he's a athlete.
Yeah. Do you think that Manny Pacquiao should have, went out of his way to show that he was clean, just like Tim Bradley did?
Well, I think that's the best. I think that was the best way to show that you're clean. Just do your test. Why not? I always say that if you have nothing to hide, hey, just show it. Why hold back? That's why Tim never hesitates to take his test. He moves out of his way to do tests of his own. Like for example, this one, and then the Marquez fight. He paid for VADA himself just to show that he don't hide anything. And there's always a big issue when they bring up the testing. They're always like, oh no, there's always somebody interfering. No, we need to do VADA. We're gonna do the Nevada Athletic Commission. Wow. But that's not the issue. The issue is we lost. The issue is that we lost. We went home with a defeat. Now the people see that Timothy Bradley, what they wanted to see, there was no see. Like I said to some of the fans, they said, oh well, you guys. And I said, do you think that was the way the judges announced it, 118 to 111? Or no, it was closer than that. Well, how come you make a big deal about it the way you did with the fight when they fought the first? Look at the vice versa now. You can make a big deal of it. Because it's Manny Pacquiao. Well, Manny Pacquiao is different than Tim Bradley. But, because it happened to Manny, it was a big deal. But now that happened to Bradley, it's not a big deal. It was okay. But I thought the fight was close, man. Even though I knew that in the first half of the fight was close, and Lara Harriman had winning 4 rounds, maybe 5 rounds.
Yeah.
And after that, I'm pretty sure along the way, Tim won another round. So, to be a unanimous decision like that, people don't see that. But I thought
Yeah, I hear you, man. I hear you. Well, hey, man, I want to thank you for your time, Joel. And I know you guys going to come back strong, and we'll catch you up. We'll catch up with you on the next interview. You got any closing thoughts you want to say, Joel?
No. I just want to, thank all the people. I want to thank the fans. I want the media, everybody, for just standing and some support. After that is what we wanted to do. We wanted to give the fans what they wanted to see, a great fight. And, hopefully everybody went home and was at home watching the fight. They enjoyed a great fight, and that's what matters. Coming home with a defeat didn't affect us as much as the controversy did. We came home with a loss, but you know what? This loss, we gained a lot out of this loss. And, it's good. We walk tall, our heads up, and we're going to keep coming. I want the title back, and whatever it takes, we're going to come back stronger.
All right, that's what it is, man. Once again, thanks for your time and congratulations on a courageous performance. And go ahead and take care, Joel. We'll catch up with you, man.
Thank you, sir.
All right, man. Okay, guys, that was J.Diaz. And we're going to go ahead and go to a commercial break, and we're going to come back and talk more about that fight and also talk about some of the fights that's going to take place in the future. All right? We'll be right back, guys.
It's personal training in Las Vegas at its best. Get motivated. Look better for summer. Live longer. Lose weight and keep it off. Unlimited one-on-one personal training sessions offered for only $199 a month. And for limited time, you can receive one training consultation absolutely free. Visit MuscleNotFat.com today to find out more. That's MuscleNotFat.com. Check it out today.
What if it wasn't always about getting ahead? What if you didn't care about being on the fast track? What if your career goals were to change? Instead of flying off to the big interview, what if you flew somewhere else altogether? To embark on a different track, to volunteer in ways you never dreamed of, in places you never imagined yourself being. Like a tiny island in the Pacific, barely visible on a map, but where needs are easy to see. Or a village on the African continent, where just a little training in HIV awareness can change the fate of thousands. What if you decided to share your skills with others and help someone else get ahead? Peace Corps. Life is calling. How far will you go? To find out more, call 800-424-8580 or visit peacecorps.gov.
Imagine a world where bullying isn't considered a normal part of childhood.
A world where I'm not afraid to go to school.
To speak out.
To be myself.
Loser. A world where I'm not afraid to be caught alone.
Come on, punk.
We have the power to stop the bullying. Speak out.
Speak up.
Educate.
Find out what to look for and how you can make a difference at bullying.org.
Bullying is not kids being kids.
It's not about good homes or bad homes.
It's not a normal part of growing up. I shouldn't be afraid to get on the school bus.
To turn on my computer.
Message or walk to my locker. Did you know that a bully will stop his or her behavior in 10 seconds when their peers speak up?
Use your voice.
Hey, leave them alone. We have the power to stop bullying.
Find out more at bullying.org.
Bullying.org.
Where you're not alone.
You're not.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the show. I want to go ahead and introduce my special guest, Arab King. What's going on, Arab? Arab, you there? We're going to wait a couple minutes and see if we could get Arab. Arab, you there? Well, anyway, we're gonna go ahead and get Arab on in a couple minutes. Hopefully, we're gonna talk a little bit more about this Tim Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao rematch fight. I also want to talk about the news that Lara versus Canelo may possibly be official. I haven't seen it on the major websites yet, but we'll also go ahead and talk about that as well. And I want to talk about the fight that's taking place this weekend, which is Hopkins versus Shumanov. All right? So just give us a second, guys, and we're going to go ahead and get Arab back on the phone. Arab, you there?
Hello?
Arab, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Okay, there we go. There we go. Well, I guess we got you now. Welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no doubt, no doubt. So we might as well jump right into it, Arab. What did you think about this past weekend's fight, Bradley versus Manny Pacquiao, losing a decision to Pacquiao? What did you think about it?
Well, the fight was saying it sure was my money because even though the undercard was some BS, but the main event was worth it. And when I heard Diaz say that he hurt his and that was the reason. Now it makes sense to me. That's why he was looking all down the whole night. But at the end of the day, even though Timothy Bradley was loading up with every shot, he hurt his feet and he fought the wrong. He had a wrong game plan. He still won 5 rounds in my book, and and that's and he performed well. And one mistake that Bradley made, that he was loading up with every shot. Like I said, you only load up with the shots that you know you're gonna land because you don't want to tire yourself. And the way he was moving his head like Canelo Whitaker, and then coming back to the body and throwing a shots and staying active the whole round. I think that kind of tired him a little coming to the later rounds, and that benefited Pacquiao. But Timothy Bradley, he did his thing. Pacquiao did his thing. So I really question, I really question Manny Pacquiao because he was getting hit to the body a lot in the early part of the fight.
Yeah.
And he was getting hit clean.
Yeah.
And then he didn't slow down at all come to the later rounds. So I'm questioning, is he on PEDs because he didn't take the test? And I'm not saying he's on PEDs. I'm just saying because he didn't slow down on something that the steroids help you with is stamina, and we already know that.
Absolutely. Different types of PEDs. They help you with stamina, endurance. This is the whole thing, Arab. The first 6 rounds, Tim Bradley, he looked really, really good. Tim Bradley, he looked good. And then all of a sudden, that's around the time where it seemed like he started to fall apart. And it seemed like he just started to just throw one hard punch at a time instead of trying to set something up. In the first fight, what made him so successful in a lot of those rounds, particularly the first 3 rounds and the last 3 rounds, were the fact that, like we always talked about it, he had great foot movement and he had an excellent jab. And he was able to jump back and counter Manny Pacquiao. But in this fight, yeah, he was flat-footed. And honestly, the fight almost reminded me, not saying he did as bad as this guy, but the fight kind of reminded me of Pacquiao versus Diaz, because David Diaz was that flat-footed guy constantly coming in. But, of course, Tim Bradley, he has a lot better head movement and defense. But he was just so aggressive, and Pacquiao was trying to jump back and counter him. Now, Arab, what I found interesting is, like I said, he was the aggressor in this fight. And, I had some people send me messages, some Pacquiao fans, they got upset saying, no, he wasn't the aggressor, et cetera, et cetera. But like I said, we seen Tim Bradley constantly coming forward in the first 6 rounds. And even in the second half of the fight, when Tim Bradley backed up, I thought it was interesting because it seemed like Pacquiao was almost intimidated by Bradley because Bradley, he backed up in the 6th round. At the end of the round, go back and watch it, guys. He backs up. He puts his hands down. Pacquiao comes in with a combination, right? He comes in with a combination while Bradley's back is against the ropes and his hands are down, and Pacquiao jumps back out. He jumps back out, and Bradley waves him in to come back in, and Pacquiao, he throws another 1 or 2 combination, and then while Bradley's hands are down, Manny Pacquiao, he falls into a clinch. And I'm like, wait a minute. What is he doing clinching? What is he doing clinching a guy who has his back against the ropes with his hands down? I mean, why is he clinching? So I felt I felt he really intimidated. I thought Bradley, he really intimidated Manny Pacquiao, which was real surprising. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, Pacquiao was hesitant to come in because he got hurt earlier. You remember in the 4th round?
Yeah.
Bradley hit him bad. I remember Bradley hitting him actually 3 times, but one time he hit, in the 4th round, he hurt him very bad, and that's why I think Pacquiao was hesitant to come in, and he was also afraid for Bradley to set him up, kind of like Marquez did.
Yeah.
And I think he's still having flashbacks of that.
Yeah.
And the one mistake Bradley was making, though, he should have came down, straight down the pipe, but he was throwing wild right hands, and that was a big mistake, because you really can't catch Pacquiao coming in like that. You could catch him, from far away maybe with an overhand, but coming in, you got to throw that sharp, straight punch down the middle. But also, like you said, Bradley was, he wasn't feigning that much. He was just throwing straight power shots and the jab on there. So, it was a bad night for Bradley, but at the end of the day, Pacquiao did not look sensational. It's not like Pacquiao went in there and killed Timothy Bradley. I mean, he lost 5 rounds, and he was getting hit all night with that right hand. So, it's a good win on Pacquiao record, but at the end of the day, he didn't dominate Timothy Bradley. Timothy Bradley still made a good out of it, and I want to see a 3rd fight because, like I said, he hurt his feet. So let's see in the 3rd fight what will happen.
Yeah, like I said, I do want to say congratulations to Manny Pacquiao, though. Like I said, he did put on a good performance because it wasn't any controversy. I mean, of course, it was a little controversial. Some of the judges' scorecards, like I said, one judge had it ridiculous, I think 118, 110. But we kind of expected the BS to take a place in this fight, if I could put it that way. We expected that to happen. But see, my whole thing is, if you look at Manny Pacquiao, this is a great win, and like I said in my video, he hasn't had a win this significant in probably about 8 years. But at the same time, it wasn't a dominant performance. He's yet to have a dominant performance against an elite young fighter. This wasn't Mayweather Guerrero. This wasn't Donaire. This wasn't Rigo versus Donaire. This wasn't Mayweather versus Canelo. It was still somewhat of Frazier Ali. A close match. But nevertheless, it was still a good win for Manny Pacquiao. Now, you brought up you want to see a 3rd fight. I'm gonna tell you right now, Arab, I don't think it's gonna happen. I don't think Manny Pacquiao wants to go anywhere near a 3rd fight with Tim Bradley. I think he feels like he's the nightmare is over with. But yet at the same time, he's willing to fight Marquez probably 5 to 10 more times. But I don't see him wanting to get in the ring with the Desert Storm Tim Bradley anytime soon, man.
Yeah, and one thing, man, the reason, one thing I believe that Manny Timothy Bradley hurt his feet is maybe because his man had grandma. Did you see her? Did you see her when she put a spell on him?
She put a hex on him. Yeah.
She put a spell on him, man. She put a cross on him. I was like, what's she doing? She's supposed to be Christian, and that wasn't no Christian stuff. So I don't know what she was doing, though.
Man, hey, she had me shaking. She had me shaking when I seen it. She did like, hey, George, she stuck her hand out like this in the camera like this, and she did some voodoo type shit, and
and all that, that was creepy as hell, man.
And all of a sudden she did that, and all of a sudden Tim Bradley, he started walking around like he was staggered, like he was drunk, like he was like he was hypnotized. You feel me? So, oh man, I wouldn't want to be on the receiving end of that little hex. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Definitely. But that Manny Pacquiao that fought Timothy Bradley, even though he won the fight, I like the way he was stepping back. He actually was the boxer, you could say. And the thing about him, that Manny Pacquiao, he fights Floyd Mayweather, it's not gonna go 12 rounds. I'm telling you that right now. And Marquez is going to give him a hard time, too, if he have a rematch. So we'll see if Marquez win his next fight. But I'm telling you, if he fights Floyd Mayweather, the was getting caught, I just can't go rounds with Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah, man. I mean, if we bring in Mayweather into the mix, it's a total different type of matchup. And, you know, like I said, Manny Pacquiao, he was exposed, as he always is in all of his fights. He's too easy to hit. The thing is, if Manny Pacquiao goes against Floyd Mayweather, it's a total different fight because, number one, Mayweather is taller. Number one, Mayweather is taller than Tim Bradley. He's taller than Manny Pacquiao. He has a very effective reach advantage when it comes to him using his jab. His jab alone will be picking apart Manny Pacquiao. And when Manny Pacquiao, he does that type of turtle shell defense where he puts his hands up like this, that's when Floyd Mayweather is going to go in on him with the body shots. I mean, don't get me wrong. That would be an excellent fight. It would be a competitive fight. But, yeah, I don't see Pacquiao going 12 rounds. And if he does go 12 rounds, he is going to take an enormous amount of punishment because he's so easy to hit. You know, Manny Pacquiao, no matter how much Manny Pacquiao boxes, his offense will always be his defense, okay? And that's not going to be a good enough defense against Floyd Mayweather because we seen Tim Bradley frustrate Manny Pacquiao in those last 3 rounds in the first fight. And we seen Marquez frustrate Pacquiao in the 4 fights that they had. So you can pretty much imagine what Floyd Mayweather would do to Manny Pacquiao. That's how I see that.
Yeah, I mean, in my eyes, it's not even close. And Manny Pacquiao, you know, Max Kellerman asked him, who you want to fight next? You know, he should have yelled out Floyd Mayweather.
Yeah.
If he was gonna fight. But he says, up to my promoter. That means, I thought that was his fight with Bob Arum, but it looked like it's gonna be, to the end of the year. But then at the end of the year, if he resigns with Top Rank or extend the contract, then they don't want no part of Floyd because he could just leave Bob Arum and go to Floyd Mayweather, and he's a free agent, and he's gonna make money by doing that, and he could actually fight Floyd Mayweather. But if he extend his contract, that means we already know he never wanted to fight Floyd. And like the same way I did with Chavez when Chavez fought Sergio, he was like, I tried to protect Chavez. He's gonna say the same thing. I bet you he's gonna be like, man, I protect Manny Pacquiao from Mayweather. Which he's gonna receive his ass whooping. But I'm telling you, I don't think that the fight is gonna happen anytime soon. But it can happen if Manny Pacquiao wanted it to happen if he leaves Bob Arum. But if he re-signs with Bob Arum, then we probably will never see that fight.
Yeah, we probably won't. I mean, there's a video on YouTube. Well, there's a whole bunch of videos on YouTube where people put clips together of interviews that Freddie Roach, Manny Pacquiao, and Bob Arum have done individually. And it's funny because, we've seen all these clips of Pacquiao saying it's up to my promoter, it's up to my promoter. But then when they ask Freddie Roach, whose final decision is it to decide who Manny Pacquiao is going to face? And Freddie Roach said, it's all of Manny Pacquiao's decision. It's up to Manny Pacquiao. Whoever Manny Pacquiao says he wants to fight, that's who we fight. So we know that it's not the case when he says it's up to his promoter. Really, it's up to Manny Pacquiao. Like I said before, when Manny Pacquiao first lost to Tim Bradley, it was Bob Arum that wanted to make the rematch. It was Manny Pacquiao and his team who called up Bob Arum and said, we don't want that fight. We want to fight Marquez. Okay? So we know that. But this is what I want to ask you, though, Arab King. There's not really too many fights for Manny Pacquiao in the top-ranked roster. Outside of Marquez, who else is he going to face? So outside of Mayweather, who else do you think that Manny Pacquiao should face, like let's say in maybe his next 2 or 3 fights?
Well, like I said, I really can't say. Maybe they're going to make Crawford move up in weight. Garcia.
Or Mikey Garcia, yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the two. And like you said, they just use Bob Arum for cover, for them to have an excuse. Kind of like Mikey. Mikey don't want to fight down below. He used Bob Arum for cover. And we already know the story behind that. But, yeah, I don't know if Crawford is going to be at 147 by next year. But, he might jump in and take that chance. Because it's a big fight.
Yeah, another thing, too, man, is if Bob Arum, he keeps saying at these post-fight conferences that, blaming it on Mayweather, saying that, it's Mayweather, he doesn't want the fight, he's not fighting real fighters, et cetera, et cetera. he's saying that he can make the fight if he really wants to. So if Bob believes that, then Bob also should believe that Manny Pacquiao can fight other fighters that's not part of top rank the roster, right? So there's other fights out there that Manny Pacquiao could take. I mean, first off, we still have Provodnikov. Let's not forget that he is part of top rank. You know, we have Provodnikov, and if you're going outside of top rank, or what would I call it? I would call it open type fighters that aren't with Golden Boy or top rank. You have Kell Brook, you know, a free agent. That's the word I was looking for. Something like free agents, because Kell Brook will be kind of considered a free agent just because he's not with top rank or Golden Boy, even though he's promoted with another organization. But that's a fight that could be made. Keith Thurman, Sean Porter. I mean, these are fights, because Bob Arum is claiming that Floyd Mayweather could fight him, you know, despite the little conflict that or the little Cold War that Top Rank and Golden Boy are having. So if that's the case, yeah, we already seen Mayweather fight against young, strong lions like Canelo. So let's see Manny Pacquiao get in the ring with a young, strong lion like Keith Thurman, or even Canelo at a catchweight. I mean, right?
Fight Canelo.
Yeah.
You know, he ain't fighting Canelo, man.
Yeah.
That's too big for him. He gonna murder him. But yeah, like you said, you know, Bob Arum. I mean, just even Porter, man. I want to see him, Porter. Even Thurman. That's a great. I'm telling you, he'd probably be the favorite.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? It's really interesting to think, who is he going to fight? Because, like I said, I mean, I don't really care about a Marquez fight, but of course, because of how the last one ended, that you know, makes it a little bit more, you know, interesting to see what would happen in a fifth fight. But man, I am really, really interested to see who is Manny Pacquiao going to face once he gets past Marquez, or if that fight doesn't happen because Marquez decides he doesn't want to take a chance of losing again to Manny Pacquiao. You know, so
well, I mean, I think Booker's gonna take the fight just because Pacquiao got belt now, and if he won a belt at 147, there's no way. He don't want to fight Porter. He don't want to fight. He's gonna lose to Canelo, of course. You know, he's not gonna fight none of the guys that, you know, Oscar. So might well fight Pacquiao and get the title that you want. But I mean, Pacquiao, he could fight and then leave Bob Arum and fight Floyd Mayweather next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
His fight is over. But if he if he resigns with Bob Arum, then that's when we got to ask the question: who is he going to fight next? The news, you know, what Bob Arum did.
You broke up a little bit. Say that again, Arab.
I said, have you the news about Bob Arum? What he said about the Canelo, not the Canelo, about it versus Golovkin fight.
No, I didn't hear it. He said something about the Golovkin. You mean the Golovkin Chavez fight?
Yeah, he said that if Chavez doesn't extend the contract with the Golovkin fight, won't get made. He won't give him Golovkin unless he extends his contract with him.
Really?
With Top Rank, you know. Yeah, and I'm like, dude, if I'm under your contract, I want the biggest fight that I could get. Not when it's a big fight. If I win this fight, I gotta extend my contract. No, I extend my contract if I want to after my contract is ended. It's my decision. You're not gonna tell me to sign a contract, but if I want the big fights, I gotta extend the contract every time. Kind of like Bradley did, you know, and all these other guys. So I'm like, are you kidding me? And Bob Arum is hurting the sport by the things he's doing. And what do you think of that?
Man, I mean, that's Don King style. I mean, that's straight Don King style. Only in America type style right there. We starting to notice a pattern, man. We starting to notice a pattern. Like you said, he did this with Tim Bradley. He did this with Manny Pacquiao. So now we know he's been doing this all along. And quite frankly, once again, this is the reason why we know the Mayweather fight never took place. You know, even Freddie Roach said at a round table, and I don't even think other people noticed it. I was sitting there. Freddie Roach, he actually admitted that, you know, it was Manny Pacquiao's fault. That's what Freddie Roach said out of his own mouth. It was Pacquiao's fault that the first fight never took place. And then later on he said, you know, and you could kind of blame Bob Arum, you know, when it comes to the fights that didn't take place in the future between Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. So yeah, it's a pattern, man. I mean, you know, Bob Arum, you know, he's a shark. He's a shark in the business, and he's only looking at, you know, making his bread. And he knows, and he knew all along that Mayweather would have most likely beat Manny Pacquiao 4 years ago. And he said, I'm going to milk this cow until blood start coming out the damn nipple, you know. and then when, you know, Manny Pacquiao is desperate and he on his last leg, then I'll have nothing to lose. Then I'll put Manny Pacquiao in the ring with Floyd Mayweather. So that's how I see it.
Yeah, and I'm telling you, man, you know, he's probably gonna tell Pacquiao, if you want to fight Marquez for the 5th time because he knows Pacquiao want to revenge his loss, he's probably gonna tell him you gotta extend the contract for 2 more years.
Of course.
Something like that. I won't be surprised if you tell him that, man.
Of course. This is. Yeah, this, you know, whatchamacallit, Bob Arum, you know, he playing Monopoly, you know, basically. You know, he ain't looking at the you know, the fighter's interest, you know, them wanting to be the best in the world or whatever. He looking at making as much money as he possibly can. And you know, that's really what it comes down to. You know, so but
what do you think of,
go ahead, man.
What do you think of the Canelo Lara? The fight got made.
Yeah, man.
I'm not sure, but I heard they're fighting for the title because Canelo sent the BS offer.
He don't want to fight for the title. Yeah, he don't want the belt.
They're not fighting for the title. So I'm like, you know, it's whatever. I mean, at least we get to see the fight, though. What you think?
You know, the good thing about Canelo saying, you know, I don't want to fight for the title, it just shows how big the fight is. It shows the fight is so big that the belts are irrelevant. But the bad thing is, once again, it just makes the sport look bad, man. It makes the sport look like it's fake and everything is just made up. Because realistically, these belts are really supposed to mean something, you know? I mean, it's kind of like the Super Bowl in football. Imagine if all of a sudden they changed the rules and said, you know, in the 8th game of the, you know, the 8th week of the NFL, they're gonna just play for the Super Bowl. You know, they just changed it up like that. You know, so it's like, you know, everything has to be traditional for the sport to grow and be respected like a real sport. But when you have people just saying, oh, you know what, I'll make weight when I want to make weight. You know what, I don't need the belt. Let's just throw the belt in the trash and let's just fight. You know, it doesn't make the sport really look good. And that's the same thing happened with what's his name? What's his damn name? The Russian, the Lomachenko. Lomachenko, you know, when he fought for a title after 2 fights, and now they already want to give him a second, belt to fight for another title shot. But back to Canelo Lara, man. What I think about that fight, man, believe it or not, as much as I've been talking about this fight, I really think it's a tough fight, though, Arab. And only reason I think it's tough because of knockouts. If knockouts weren't put into the equation, then I would say this is an easy fight for Lara. But I think Canelo only has a puncher's chance. But in this fight, a puncher's chance is pretty relevant. You know, so I think I still have Lara kind of outboxing Canelo for the most of the fight because for the most part, I should say, because Canelo Alvarez is not really that much of a brawler. He won't go in face first like a Chavez or a Margarito or even an Angulo. And I think this is what you would have to do to really, you know, take advantage of Lara on the ropes. So that's the way I see it. What about you, A-Rap?
Yeah. Because, you know, I think they're not fighting for the title, first of all, because, you know, Canelo is not. They don't want to pay Lara the money he deserves. But, you know, this is whatever. But as far as the fight, I really think it's not going to be – I think Lara's going to make it look easy. The reason I say that, even though a lot of people view it 50-50, I can see why, though. I view it like 75 to 25 in favor of Lara. Now, I could care less if people say it's 60 to 30 in favor of Canelo because I want everybody to give Lara the credit he deserves once he beats Canelo. But as far as the fight, the reason I say it's going to be a 75 to 25, you know, in favor of Lara is because Canelo thinks he possesses more skill than he really does. You know, I remember when he fought Floyd, before he fought Floyd, he was like, I mean, people view Floyd Mayweather as this great boxer. He's not that good. That's why he was and then he came boxing Floyd Mayweather. So Canelo is kind of really, I think he thinks that he's a great boxer, and this is gonna be his downfall because he's gonna get outboxed by Lara because Lara is a southpaw, got power, and he's very technical. Now, a way Canelo could win the fight, if his trainer, the game plan that I give him is the same game plan that Oscar De La Hoya had when he fought Floyd Mayweather. You know, which is don't throw punches in the middle of the ring, just use your jab to try to get your opponent on the ropes and land your shot. That's if he has that game plan and put a lot of pressure on that, then he has a high chance. But the problem is, I know he's gonna try to box. I know he's gonna try to outbox Lara. And the problem, he's not a pressure fighter, so he can't sustain sustain the pressure for 12 rounds, kind of like Angulo or whatever. He might know how to cut off the ring, but he's not gonna sustain pressure for the 12 rounds because he don't possess that much stamina. Yeah. And I think that's gonna be his downfall when he's trying to box with Lara because Lara, he possesses power and speed of himself. And even though Canelo, I think he has more power, but the thing about Canelo, he got shocking, fast hands with power. I don't see him as a George Foreman and none of that. I think he's kind of like a pack with speed power. I don't really think one punch he will, knock somebody the heck out. But he has power. It's like Manny Pacquiao was similar to him. But Manny is fighting guys like, when he was fighting like Vito and guys who was bigger than him. He knocked them guys out because they naturally bigger than him. And Canelo, when he fought Angulo, he was as big as Angulo. And Angulo was just a punching bag. So, anyway to do. But that's a good fight. I can't wait to see it. And let's view it 25-25 in favor of Lara because Lara is going to land his shot, his single shots, and outbox Canelo. And Canelo is not going to be. He's not going to do what he did to Trump. By taking Trump work away, by Trump come to him and then countering Trump because, like I said, Larry, he's only going to throw single shots and
absolutely.
Away. And when Austin Trump was throwing punches, he would throw punches and then stay in the pocket getting caught, which they won't be doing that.
Absolutely, man, and we out of time, man. We ran out of time real quick, man. We gonna talk about this or continue where we left off next week, Arab. So once again, man, I want to say thanks again for joining the show, Arab. I want to say thanks for J.Diaz joining the show, and I'll see you guys next week, guys. Tuesday, Pacific Standard Time, 4:05 p.m. All right, guys, take care.